So in the last video, we took a look at the print revolution. I also mentioned that the amount of time between each of the communication revolutions was shrinking by an exponential factor. And this was due to the increased efficiency and rapid sharing of information that sparked new ideas all over the globe. The period in which the third revolution began coincided with the Industrial Revolution. From the early 1800s all the way up until the early 1990s, in a period of less than 200 years, one invention after another literally changed everything. And of course, as with the other revolutions, humanity had to learn how to adapt to these changing conditions and new ways of interacting with the world. And with revolutions comes turmoil. So it's no surprise that the third revolution in communication also coincided with the Civil War, 2 world wars, the Korea and Vietnam conflicts, and countless uprisings worldwide, partly due to this increased flow of information. So let's take a look at the technology that changed humanity the most. In 1839, the first camera was invented, and soon after, the first family fight took place while trying to get a 3-year-old to smile. In 1844, the telegraph allowed people to communicate back and forth in real time without having to wait for the Pony Express to deliver a letter. Granted, you had to be able to translate Morse code, but it was still a huge improvement. In 1875, the typewriter allowed people to mass produce their own print at home. And soon after, the first influencer appeared, demanding a hotel room upgrade in exchange for publicity. The following year, in 1876, the telephone was invented, improving upon the telegraph's technology. But individual private lines to each home wouldn't be fully established for more than 100 years later due to the expensive construction of telephone lines throughout the world. The next year, 1877, saw the invention of the phonograph, which allowed artists to record and sell their work on a mass production level, rather than having to make money by traveling and performing concerts. Of course, that's also when friends began sharing music with one another, and the debate between the record industry and music sharing was born. In 1891, the camera was improved to record motion pictures. They wouldn't have sound for another 30 years, and color for another 40 years, but it still allowed us to capture moving images in real time. 1895 marked the beginning of radio, which benefited military the most, but it was then transitioned to general use for sharing of music, variety programs, and most importantly, politicians, who previously had to travel around and talk to people, but could now talk to them without leaving their hometown or fear of their constituents talking back. Television was developed in the early 1920s, which combined the tech of radio with that of motion pictures, ushering in the television age. Suddenly, image became equally important as one's ideas, and in a famous presidential debate between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, where Nixon blended in with the background behind him, image became even more important. Shortly after the end of World War II, in the mid-1940s, the first computer was built. At that time, it weighed 30 tons and required 2 20-horsepower blowers to keep it cool. It took up a whopping 1,800 square feet of space, large enough to park a school bus inside, and it had all the computing power of a modern high school graphing calculator. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite Sputnik 1, and by 1962, satellites were being used for communication across the globe, without the need for expensive wires on the seafloor. The most groundbreaking year was in 1970, which is when the first microprocessor was made using solid-state transistor technology. This invention allowed computers to go from the size of a warehouse to the size of a postage stamp, and it effectively launched us into the digital era. In that year, Gordon Moore, CEO of Intel, predicted that computing technology would double every year. And he was right, at least up until 2010, when the pace of tech growth finally began to slow down, but not by much. In 1976, the two Steves, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, created the first personal computer, the Apple I, which sold at auction in 2019 for $500,000, despite being made from plywood and housed in a leather briefcase. 5 years later, Bill Gates would release the first Microsoft computer, and the Mac versus PC debate was born. Motorola launched the first cell phone in 1983, which cost a whopping $4,000. That's about 10 G's by 2020 standards. It had a battery life of 30 minutes, and it was about the size of a subway foot long. The last of the inventions from this revolution was that of the interwebs, or the World Wide Web as it was originally named by its inventor, Tim Berners-Lee. Originally designed as a United States military research project to link computers worldwide in the mid-70s, the internet as we know it today, with clickable links and easy-to-remember website addresses, was developed and released in 1991, which exploded and became one of the biggest leaps forward, effectively propelling all of humanity into the information age, or the fourth major revolution in communication. In our next video, we'll take a deep dive into the revolution we're currently sitting in the middle of, as well as the impact it's had on our lives.